Moses. Martin Luther King has led the effort of the Negro people to gain full equal rights. King has championed civil rights since he stepped on the scene in 1955. No one could compare in their efforts to help the Negro gain full American citizenship. King headed the efforts to boycott the bus system in Montgomery, Alabama, which led to abolishment of segregation and the Civil Rights Acts of 1964. Recently, King has been leading efforts to level the playing field for the nation's poor, regardless of race. Many in the country quietly admire King for leading the effort to integrate the country. After the protester beatings by the ravenous Southern police departments, many think it is time to face the original sin of the United States. But as King starts to delve into equal housing and the Vietnam War, he begins to run away many of his previous supporters. President Johnson was once one of King's greatest advocates in his civil rights fight. Johnson helped King and his movement with federal assistance after the beating of marchers on Bloody Sunday. Without Johnson's cooperation, the movement probably would not have received any help from the government. But King did not feel obligated to support Johnson's efforts to bring war to Vietnam. In fact, the Vietnam War was at the center of King's attack on American policy to entice poor young Americans to enlist in the war. Dr. King is relaxing in his room at the Lorraine Motel. Dr. King is feeling a bit under the weather. He has a bit of fever. Dr. King is lying across his bed looking at the TV. Anthony Montgomery is sitting in a chair talking with Dr. King. Montgomery is sitting with Dr. King while the rest of Dr. King's entourage attends a gathering at the Masonic Temple. "How are you feeling?" asked Montgomery. "I will be okay with some rest. I must continue to forge on," says King. "Maybe you need a vacation. Just go somewhere and sit down," says Montgomery jokingly. "I do need one. I need to take my family away. I signed up for this, they didn't," says a remorseful King. "How much longer do you think you will be in Memphis? Maybe you can take the family on vacation after you leave here," says Montgomery. "I may leave in the next couple of days, but I will have to come back. The sanitation workers' strike is not going how I had hoped. The city government is sticking to its guns. They really don't want to give anything," says an insightful King. "If you come back, what will you change?" asked Montgomery. "I don't know, but I have to try," replies King. "Those troublemakers didn't make things any better," says Montgomery. "Young Mr. Montgomery, those are what you call government plants. We have been getting more of those here recently. For too long, too many of our peaceful marches have been too peaceful. The government has realized that they must show America that our movement has some thugs, so when they beat them down, the police are looked at with a sympathetic view. Defenseless Negroes are not good for the evening news. It is good old intimidation from Big Brother. We know the government has been watching us for some time," says King as he gazes at Montgomery. Montgomery feels a bit nervous. He is not sure if King has figured out that he is an FBI agent. Montgomery tries to change the subject. "Why does it seem like things have changed over the last couple of years?" asks Montgomery. "What do you mean?" asks King. "It just seemed like there was a feeling of marching for our rights as Negro people. But now it seems like it's not just about Negroes," says Montgomery. "That's because it is not just about the Negro people. The Negro is a victim, as is the poor white person. We have won some rights for the Negro people, but what good are those rights if you can't live where you want or get the same wage as any other person? The war is the greatest tragedy. This country is sending young people to die for an unnecessary war. As an agent of God, I must speak about this injustice," says King. "Doesn't it seem like people have turned against you?" asks Montgomery. "Maybe they have. My heart and soul tell me it is the right fight, so I will follow that," says King. There is a startling knock at the door. Montgomery goes to the door with his hand inside his suit jacket, tugging at his service revolver. "Who is it?" barks Montgomery. "It is Andy," answers Andy Young. Andrew Andy Young is one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s most trusted advisors. He has argued many of the crucial legal briefs that have helped the movement. "Marty, we need you at the temple. We know that you want to rest, and frankly you need it. The crowd found out you weren't going to speak tonight, and they started getting restless. Nobody wants the other preachers. They want to hear from you," says Andy Young. Dr. King takes a deep breath and rises to his feet. "Let me take a quick shower, and then I will give them a speech they won't forget," says the smiling King.